Hey, what's the crack? Getting the platinum trophy for Kingdom Come Deliverance was incredibly immersive for the simple fact of you need to eat and sleep, and if you're not wearing the right armor you can get badly hurt and bleed, which will not stop until you bandage it. But it wasn't always like that, because there were some absolutely hilarious glitches. And just before we go any further, spoiler warning. If you haven't played Kingdom Come Deliverance, I will be talking about some moments from the game. The protagonist of this game is named Henry. He's a blacksmith's boy who starts off scrapping with peasants and somehow ends up a master sword fighter. But before any of that, we have to start off with our first trophy, Blacksmith's Son. And how you acquire this trophy is by completing your first quest by doing a runner away from your village as it goes up in flames. And this brings me running right into my next trophy, Cavalier. And I acquired this trophy by rescuing a citizen of Skalitz called Teresa. Didn't end up going well for me though. No matter what I did, it did not end up going well for me whatsoever. I have to ride all the way to the next town to warn them what's coming. And I'm being chased. I wonder if they're still behind me. Oh shit! I do make it to Talmberg and tell them of the threat that's coming. And we meet Sir Divish and his lovely wife, Stephanie. She will come back into this game a bit later. Henry then has a not so brilliant idea of heading back to Skalitz while there's all types of bandits around the place. He wants to go bury his parents. And here's a good example of why it wasn't a good idea to come back. We run into bandits, the worst one being Runt. A name I'd like to call him sounds very similar to this. He's too overpowered for us for now. Once Henry was back on his feet, the next trophy popped, Awakening. And you acquire this by going into Sir Radzik, telling him what happened, and he takes you into his service. Radzik was the lord of Skalitz, by the way. And since Henry is now a soldier, he needs to be trained like one. So we get to meet and train with Captain Bernard, where he teaches us to use a sword. And he also trains us in a bit of archery. Once done with him, we go on duty as a normal guard, and we get to learn of a minigame, Dice. And while doing our job, we actually come across Lord Capon, who will actually become Henry's best friend. Hans and Henry then go on a bit of a hunt as a punishment for that little fight they had. And this is where the next trophy, Buddy, is acquired. And how it's acquired is by rescuing Lord Capon after he gets captured by the Cumans. And because we did such a good job rescuing our new best friend, we got a horse, and his name was Pebbles. As always passing time, I claimed my next trophy, Insomniac, and this trophy is got by not sleeping for 2 days and 2 nights. And I was so thankful to get that trophy out of the way because this was very annoying to see. Once again, as I was wasting time, in comes my next trophy, Anorexic, which you get for starving yourself for 3 days. It wasn't as annoying as the Insomniac trophy, but it does take away a lot of your stamina if you get too hungry. While out on an investigation looking for bad guys, we come across a very interesting character named Father Goodwin, and I will show you why he's so interesting later on. We then head back to Radzik to tell him what we found out, where the bad guys are, and what type of base they're hiding at. Then Radzik and myself come up with a devious plan to attack the bad guys. And of course, we bring backup. The bad guys had a very strong show of force, putting out their toughest guy to assert his dominance on us. And before you know it, I was getting my next trophy, Runt. And I got this for taking out the man that nearly took me out in Skalitz. And I'm quite proud of the fact that I did this while bleeding with little health. I think the only reason I won though is because I asserted my dominance more than he could assert his. While on the hunt for more bad guys, I came across a town that was either very religious or very sick. It must be sick because this woman just gave me a riddle when I asked for directions. And they were sick because I got my next trophy, Plague Doctor. And I unlocked this trophy by figuring out what was wrong with them, brewing up a potion, and then giving it to them. And this helps me to further my investigation where I meet another new friend who does seem a bit silly. And speaking of friends, we come across 2 of our oldest friends from Skalitz, Matthew and Fritz. After we were done talking with Matthew and Fritz, we move on and we find out where the bad guys are, and that Henry has some absolutely mad jumping skills. There was a lot of bad guys at this camp, so I brought along backup, and it was my silly friend. And unfortunately, he didn't make it. And of course, I did what any good friend would do. I took his gear and I wore it. And then after asking some hard-hitting questions to the bad guy, he points us in the direction of cooler bad guys, where they put us on to our next trophy called Monk. And this trophy is got for infiltrating the monks and becoming one, technically, because the cool guys gave us a task of getting rid of someone in the monastery. And while in this monastery, I thought of no better time to get the trophy Bookworm, which is got for reading 20 books, even if they are only like 2 pages long. And I thought it was no better place because they have a massive library. Who do you think he's talking about? Brendan Fraser? Yeah, I think it's Brendan Fraser. Anyways, enough about Brendan Fraser, on to the next trophy, Ranger, which you get for walking 50 kilometers in the game. And I managed to walk myself right into trouble where I got locked up and they fed me so well that I got the trophy Fatso, which is got for being stuffed for 2 days. And being overfed is not a good thing in this game because it makes you more clumsy. You know when you're overfed when the pig icon appears at the bottom of the screen. I then find the man they're looking for in the monastery and the both of us escape. And the guy I'm looking for apparently doesn't believe in using ladders. The cool guys thought I did such a good job, they accepted me into their club and let me meet their leader, Eric. Soon after that, the next trophy was gained. Bastard. And how it was gained was getting captured and finding out who is really Henry's father. And then Henry makes his daring escape to go tell the others what's going on. He barely makes it out by the skin of his teeth. And let's just say the two lads are not too happy about what I tell them. And that leads into the next trophy, Conqueror. And how this trophy is acquired is by launching a full assault on the camp Henry just left. And the bad guys were smarter than they looked, which is saying something, because they pulled a sneaky one on them. While we attacked their base, they took Sir Divish's castle. So we were going to war and we needed money. And I saved so much, I got the trophy Scrooge, which is for having 5,000 groshens, the currency of the game, in your pocket. And the best way to get groshens is taking the groshens of people who no longer need it, or selling the gear of the people who no longer need it. We decide to do a night raid and see if we can rescue some hostages. We don't end up rescuing anyone and we have to carry Cape on out there because he took an arrow to the arse. It's like a bad Skyrim guard. With the night raid failed, we have to go all out attack once again. And now we need to prepare, so they give me a heap of tasks to do. And looking for beer was one of them, which granted me the next trophy, Traveler, which I get for discovering all the fast travel points around the map. And before I knew it, I had the trophy Talmberg, and I got this trophy for completing all the side objectives during the siege quest. And some of those objectives were really weird, like buying an ungodly amount of meat, convinced a hermit priest to go back and give last rites at the camp, and had to brew an ungodly amount of potions to keep the soldiers awake. I bet this is how they make Red Bull. It would seem all my efforts were wasted cause them potions did barely anything to keep them boys awake. But we did take out the reinforcements and we managed to capture Eric. And while I had him here, I decided he's going to help me get my next trophy, Freud. And the only way to earn this trophy is by asking questions to Eric and getting them all right to find out about his past. We then break down the castle walls and make our way in for an all-out scrap. And while there, I decided to use my chubby little fingers to get the next trophy, Thief. We let the remaining bad guys get away, and then me and Sir Hans are given a task to go deliver a letter. And this is where I claimed my next 3 trophies. The first one being Virgin, which you get for not doing the no pants dance throughout the main storyline. The next one was the end for completing the main storyline. Hard to believe with such a name like that. And last but not least was the trophy Merciful, which can only be unlocked by not killing anyone throughout the main storyline. And this was one of the most massive pains in my ass, because trying to fight anyone with a shield and a helmet on was a nightmare unless there was a group around you. So if you've platinumed this game, which trophy annoyed you the most? Or which quest annoyed you the most? Let me know in the comments. But let's move on to the next trophy that was acquired, called Bad Trip. And how I managed to bag this trophy was by finding women getting freaky with some cream and doing rituals and summoning demons. And then I had to take out them said demons. To get the next trophy, it required some help, and I thought of no one better than Captain Bernard. And that said trophy was called Fighter, and this is unlocked by doing 100 combos in combat. So the easiest way to do this is to go to Captain Bernard, ask him to show you some combos, and do whatever combos you like to him, and repeat. Funny enough, the next trophy I got actually involves more people too, like your friends Matthew and Fitz, but they're not going to enjoy this trophy whatsoever. And the reason for that is this trophy is Judas, and you get this trophy for betraying your friends Matthew and Fitz. And the way you betray them is by robbing the money they planned on robbing, hiding it somewhere, and then you go and tell the man you robbed that you know who robbed him, and it was Matthew and Fitz. This mission requires a lot of lockpicking, and if you don't like it as much as I did, you can actually make it easier in the game, which I didn't know, by going into settings and just switching it to easy mode. The next trophy got was Master Huntsman, and it was quite a weird one, because you become the Master Huntsman, but in the weirdest way possible, because you have to clear this fella's name, and the only way this can be accomplished is by kidnapping this man's wife to make him sign a piece of paper saying he's liar shite, and then you get offered the position of the Master Huntsman, which you graciously accept. And just be careful through some of these missions, because these lads really do not like friendly fire, or should I say a friendly stabbing. Moving on to another weird trophy, Spoil Sport. And I say it's a weird trophy because The way to get this is you have to sabotage 3 executions. One of them is a beheading, so you have to dull the blade. The second one is a hanging, so you replace the new rope with an old rotten rope. And the third fella is going to be punished first, so you sabotage the executioner's gear. And I didn't do this because these 3 men were innocent. Oh no. I did this because this executioner was butthurt. They brought in a different executioner to do all the work, but onto a less convoluted trophy, and it was called Knight Rider. And you get this trophy for using a horse, unfortunately not your pebbles, to win a horse race. But this wasn't just a race from A to B. This was to go to collect ribbons and then bring them back. I was actually surprised I was able to get this next trophy, Ginger, because it's missable. It's missable because to get this trophy, you have to take care of the bandits that were after this man. It was from way earlier on in the game, but I was lucky enough, I sent out the attack dog, known as Captain Bernard, to take care of them. But I took care of the hunter trophy all by myself. And you get this trophy for hunting down 50 game animals, which is harder than it sounds because they take away the crosshairs for the bow. And I wasn't done with the bow yet because I had to get the trophy Sniper. And this was for getting 50 headshots against enemies using the bow. And the easiest way to do this is to go to this area and stand in a cart. They can't reach it from there. And to make it even better, once you've taken out all the enemies here, you can just wait in the cart and they'll respawn. In the same area as where I claimed the next trophy, Stealth Killer. And this was for getting 20 stealth kills. And the easiest way to do this is just wait for them to fall asleep and take them out. And these 2 trophies did help to get my next trophy, Serial Killer. And this is for killing 200 people. I don't think it mattered if they were your enemies or not. On to a less violent trophy now, and it was called King Charming. And the way to bag this trophy is by being popular in every city or town, which means you have to have a reputation of 80 or above with everyone. And then after a lot of work, I finally got the longest trophy in the game, Completionist, and it was for completing all quests, which means 80 quests, because if it was really all of them, I'd be here until I died. And some of these quests were absolutely insane, like the one where you had to get rid of ghosts, or get a bunch of random shite, including a tooth from someone's head for this fella. The next trophy that I got my hands on was called Haggler, and how I got my hands on this was by saving 2,000 aggressions by haggling. And now onto the kinder side of Henry for this next trophy, McLovin. And how you get this trophy is by letting Henry lose his V card to Teresa, or is it by Teresa? But you have to woo Teresa first by like giving her gifts and going on long walks and talks. I also get 2 more trophies off Teresa. The first one being Bard, and you get this for getting your speech to level 20. And the way you can level up your speech is by talking to people, exhausting all options of dialogue. And because I got max level of speech, it gave me my other trophy, Level Cap. And this trophy's got for reaching the main level 20. And it turns out that Henry is quite the Casanova. The trophy even says so. And how this trophy came to be is Henry wooed a married woman, and that woman was Lady Stephanie. Remember I said Father Goodwin would come back into this? Well, this is his trophy, Sinner. And the only way to get this trophy is by drinking with Father Goodwin and getting up to all sorts of shenanigans with him. While trying to do a mission, I ended up gaining another trophy called Convict, and it was for getting arrested for 3 days. And that got me thinking that Henry's had such a life after Skalitz. I wonder what would have happened if things went a bit different. Well, there's no need to wonder because there is a trophy for it, and it's called Firestarter. And the way you get this trophy is by getting locked up in Skalitz before the raid. And what happens is Henry just dies. But as we all know, that's not where Henry's life ends, because he's got more trophies to earn, like this next one, Robber Baron, which you can only get by finding and taking out this man right here. Another trophy that took me a while to get, and it was called Pilgrim. And the reason it took so long is because you have to find every cross and every shrine on the map and actually go up and interact with them. And now for what was probably the most painful trophy to get, it was called David Horick. And this can only be got by collecting 10,000 herbs from the wild. And with so many herbs collected, it was time to get rid of some of them by getting the trophy Edward Kelly. And this trophy is gained by crafting 15 unique potions. And the last potion I made to craft was called Moonshine, because it was for this next trophy, Alcoholic. And it is a very simple trophy to get. You just drink a lot of alcohol till you get the debuff of Alcoholic. There is a lot of bad side effects to drinking, like hangovers, questionable decisions, and apparently floating gear when they've just decided they've had enough. And now for the final trophy, just before the platinum, it was called Gambler. And it was for winning 1000 aggression while gambling on a dice game. And then after 110 hours, I finally got the platinum trophy. This game can be pretty tough, but as soon as you learn what you're doing, it gets a bit easier. So for that, I'll just give it a 5 out of 10. But it is an absolute incredible game just to play. So I recommend, if you haven't, go play it. So that's it, guys. This is the end of the video. I hope you all enjoyed. If you did, leave a like and a comment. I'll see you in the next one. Take care and goodbye.